Deus Ex Machina is a plot device that's been contested ever since it was first used in ancient Greek theater centuries ago, and it's continued to pop up and confuse audiences ever since.
It's Latin for God from the machine?
I don't know what that means.
Picture any time your favorite characters are at their lowest and all seem lost, until something miraculous occurs to turn the tide, like an unexpected savior, a convenient ability, or even literal divine intervention. Suddenly, the advantage is with our heroes, and the bad guys are no longer on top. This moment is often referred to as Deus Ex Machina.
On your left.
No matter where this device appears, viewers debate whether it's a clever twist or just a lazy way out for writers. Deus Ex Machina can be a good thing, like ensuring our beloved characters get the happy ending we want for them. Or it can feel unsatisfying and cheap, leaving viewers underwhelmed and disappointed.
Is that it?
Today, we're diving into all things Deus Ex Machina, when and how it was used well, when it was ineffective, and some of the most famous or perhaps infamous examples that use this double-edged device. Fair warning, major spoilers ahead for these movies and shows. First, let's quickly unpack where this term even came from in the first place. The first recorded use of Deus Ex Machina appeared as early as the 17th century. It began as a Greek term that literally meant God from the machine. Famous playwrights, particularly Aeschylus and Euripides, would use what became dubbed as Deus Ex Machina in many of their tragedies, using actors dangling from the crane, literally a machine, to represent the gods descending from the heavens and solving everyone's problems.
Arthur, King of the Britons. Oh, don't grovel. One thing I can't stand is people groveling.
Sorry.
Using the Deus Ex Machina and the gods' representation on stage often elicited emotional responses from the audience, leaving a lasting impression. Not everyone was impressed, though. Aristotle, a famous Greek philosopher, criticized the plot device, arguing that the unraveling of the plot, no less than the complication, must arise out of the plot itself. It must not be brought about by the Deus Ex Machina. The Deus Ex Machina should be employed only for events external to the drama, for antecedent or subsequent events which lie beyond the range of human knowledge and which require to be reported or foretold. For to the gods we ascribe the power of seeing all things. In other words, Aristotle believed in consistency and maintaining the laws of probability by having any conflicts that arise be solvable by the characters, tools, events, etc. that we've been familiar with since the plot began. He asserted that any use of Deus Ex Machina was lazy on the writer's part and distorted reality, jolting the audience out of their suspension of belief.
What just happened?
Despite the criticisms, however, Deus Ex Machina has continued to appear in literature, film, and television over the years. Its definition has expanded from solely divine intervention to being more figurative, with different types of scenarios falling under the umbrella term of Deus Ex Machina. Let's start with the unexpected savior, which occurs when someone or something appears out of nowhere to save the day. In some cases, we've known about this savior all along, like the eagles in Lord of the Rings, or Fawkes in Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. But we either forgot about them or never expected them to show up again. In other cases, the savior appears very randomly and jars the foundation of the story. In Lord of the Rings Return to the King, after Frodo and Sam have successfully destroyed the One Ring, they sit exhausted and trapped on the destroyed Mount Doom.
I'm glad to be with you, Samwise Gamgee. Here at the end of all things.
There appears to be no hope for them. Sure, they've accomplished what they set out to do, but we always hoped they would survive the ordeal in the end. Suddenly, the dark clouds above part to reveal Gandalf and the eagles bathed in sunlight, heading straight for Frodo and Sam.
Eagles! The eagles are coming!
The eagles pick up Frodo and Sam and flee from the flaming wreckage of Mordor. The eagles descending from the heavens has clear similarities to how gods are commonly depicted, bathed in light and descending from above. The appearance of the eagles, and whether you'd call it a Deus Ex Machina or not, has been hotly contested by fans ever since the movie was released. Even the actors are caught in the middle of this debate.
Well, Corey, maybe we can use this particular platform right now to put to bed
a question that gets asked to me every time I do a Q&A. Why didn't they use the eagles to fly to Mordor?
If the Eagles had just taken the ring to Mordor, that would have been a very poorly done and ineffective Deus Ex Machina.
No, Frodo! Well, that was incredibly easy.
However, when provided with more context, we're led to understand that the whole point of walking the ring to Mordor was because of the immense secrecy of the mission. So the Eagles don't play as big of a role until the very end when they save Frodo and Sam. Another hotly contested example of the unexpected savior occurs in Avengers Endgame. Thanos has just ordered his followers to rain fire, unleashing a torrent of missiles that beat our beloved characters down. Right when we're not quite sure if our Avengers can survive this, the missiles suddenly turn their attention to something descending from above.
What the hell is this?
Friday, what are they firing at?
Something just entered the upper atmosphere.
Captain Marvel appears, effortlessly plowing through the enormous ship and stopping the missiles from raining down. Captain Marvel had been strangely absent from the movie before this moment, except for one scene where she gave her excuse for her absence.
Listen, Furface. I'm covering a lot of territory. The things that are happening on Earth are happening everywhere. On thousands of planets.
And then, of course, she shows up at just the right moment, turning a seemingly unsurvivable obstacle into a much less dire situation. Herein lies the fault with this type of Deus Ex Machina. Did the Avengers really need Captain Marvel? They could have resolved the conflict themselves, right? Well, they had been taking care of things for the entire film, and in the end, Captain Marvel wasn't even the one to resolve the conflict. It was Tony Stark that saved the day. So was Captain Marvel's entrance, no matter how badass, really necessary? The fact that Deus Ex Machina often pull us out of the story to ponder these kinds of questions is one big reason that people feel that they distract from stories overall. Another category of Deus Ex Machina involves instances when a tool or ability is suddenly revealed that solves the conflict. Batman, in 1989's Batman, miraculously pulls himself out of tricky situations by having the exact right tool on his utility belt. Harry, in Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, discovers that his touch alone causes Voldemort's skin to burn and turn to ash. In Star Trek Into Darkness, after Kirk dies from radiation, the crew discovers that Khan's blood has magic healing properties. Huh? Well, that's good to know.
Stop! He's our only chance to save Kirk!
With Khan's blood, they're able to bring Kirk back to life. It seems a bit too convenient. You'd think something like that, something that can cure death, would show up again in the franchise, but it's almost immediately forgotten and disregarded after it has served its purpose of reviving Kirk.
Oh, don't be so melodramatic. You're barely dead.
This category can also cover moments when something commonplace or mundane actually saves the day, such as in War of the Worlds and Signs. In War of the Worlds, we follow a father who, to put it lightly, is in way over his head.
Take care of our kids.
And you got nothing to worry about.
As he's taking care of his children while his ex-wife is away, aliens invade Earth, blasting their way through cities and its citizens in enormous, seemingly invincible tripod ships. The film follows the father, Ray Ferrier, and his children through horrible event after horrible event with no way of knowing whether humans could possibly survive this. Ray figures out ways to run, survive, and fight back. But we soon learn that he didn't really need to fight back, as the aliens were doomed from the moment they landed on Earth. Ray and the other humans discover that the aliens have gotten sick from the bacteria on Earth, bacteria that humans have adapted and become immune to over their extensive existence.
Excuse me, what's happened? Did you guys take it down?
No, sir. It was behaving erratically, walking in circles, and it went down on its own about an hour ago.
Some people argue that this was way too convenient of an ending and an example of underwhelming Deus Ex Machina. If it weren't for the bacteria, the aliens probably would have defeated the humans and taken Earth for their own. Others argue that this revelation is perfectly in line with the themes of the film, as well as H.G. Wells' original 1898 novel, The War of the Worlds. While the humans were practically harmless when compared to the aliens ended up being quickly destroyed by something that is generally considered to be harmless to humans. The story plays with the idea of power dynamics and how despite our hopes and beliefs and our sense of our own importance in the world and universe at large, our existence and actions made no difference against the alien threat. In this, we can see how, similar to the issues we talked about in our video on plot holes, sometimes things get labeled as Deus Ex Machina even when they do make sense within the full context of the narrative. In Signs, we see another example of aliens invading and spreading fear across the planet.
So the aliens can't read our minds?
These aliens seem to be more dangerous than humans. They can blend into their surroundings, their ships can turn invisible, and they can spray poisonous gas from their wrists. How could the humans possibly win? Well, fortunately for them and us, our characters discover that the aliens' ultimate weakness happens to be water. The climax involves one of the characters, Meryl, hitting an alien with a baseball bat and splashing water on it. Over the radio, we hear that aliens have departed Earth after the water scared them off. Viewers have been debating this weakness and its effectiveness within the story ever since the movie premiered. Why would these aliens, supposedly intelligent and dangerous beings, try to invade a planet with a surface that's 70% water? As with the War of the Worlds example, there is an argument to be made that it's a thread within the larger theme, something innately human, we're around 60% water after all, overcoming this alien, otherworldly threat. But to many it does just feel like an out-of-nowhere Deus Ex Machina to wrap up the story in an easy, triumphant way. Finally, moments where the unspoken rules of a movie are bent or broken can be labeled as a Deus Ex Machina. This type of Deus Ex Machina occurs when unspoken rules like the laws of physics or the permanence of death are suddenly broken to advance the plot and favor our heroes.
I'll be right back.
We're definitely naming our kid Cher!
One striking example of this is in 1978's Superman the movie. While Superman was busy mending fault lines, redirecting missiles, and saving thousands of people, Lois Lane suffocates after her car becomes trapped during an earthquake. Upon discovering this, a grief-stricken and enraged Superman shoots off into the sky. He decides to use the full extent of his powers, succeeding in breaking the laws of physics and reality by flying so fast around the Earth that he turns back time, undoing all the damage down below and bringing Lois back to life. In under 2 minutes, it's like the entire third act never happened.
The problem with Men of Steel, there's never one around when you want one. You know what happened to me while you were off flying around?
While the moment reveals just how powerful Superman is and how he'd do anything to save the ones he loves, it feels like our time was wasted watching the third act unfold since none of it mattered in the end. We've also seen writers break the rules for comedic or satirical purposes. The Monty Python comedic troupe was well known for breaking the rules of cinema in their comedies, resulting in some pretty hilarious Deus Ex Machinas. In Monty Python and the Holy Grail, King Arthur and his knights are running from a terrifying beast. Instead of dispatching the monster with some heroic or action-packed fight scene, the movie simply does this.
Escape for Arthur and his knights seemed hopeless, when suddenly the animator suffered a fatal heart attack. The cartoon peril was no more.
In Season 3, Episode 8 of Monty Python's Flying Circus, a group of soldiers is ordered to take out a happily oblivious cyclist. But something always happens to postpone the execution.
Now, I was really for it.
How could you miss?
Every time we expect the cyclist to perish, the soldiers miss him completely. Or he has a dream where he's escaped but hasn't, and so on. At the last moment, after multiple hilarious blunders and distractions, well, this happens.
What an amazing escape!
This is a terrific and hyperbolic example of a bad Deus Ex Machina that the Monty Python writers use to their advantage and make it work. Randomly including a scene-missing frame rather than actually showing the miraculous escape pokes fun at other films, shows, and literature that use ridiculous means to achieve a specific end. The scene also continues the episode's theme, building up the tension, only to let it fizzle. There are plenty of other Deus Ex Machina moments we didn't go into, like when Tony Stark solves time travel in no time at all.
Can't be that easy. It's that easy.
Allowing the Avengers to get the Infinity Stones. Or in Signs, when Graham notices that Morgan's lungs were closed, so he didn't inhale any of the poison, which he then attributes to divine intervention. Or in George of the Jungle 2, where we get one of our most literal interpretations of divine intervention of all in the form of a giant hand called the narrator.
What are you gonna do about that? Huh? Huh? Come on! That hurts! What? Oh!
That's one way to get rid of the villain. And what about in The Matrix Revolutions, when there's a supercomputer literally dubbed the Deus Ex Machina?
What do you want?
Peace.
We could go on and on. Not only do people continue to debate the effectiveness of the Deus Ex Machina, but also whether anything is actually a Deus Ex Machina or not.
Deus Ex Machina!
Oh, it was all just a dream.
For example, some argue that if there isn't any literal divine intervention, then it isn't really a Deus Ex Machina. As for its effectiveness, that typically depends on three things. 1. Context. In War of the Worlds, some can argue that it doesn't use a Deus Ex Machina because the microbes and bacteria played a role the whole time. Or if the Deus Ex Machina doesn't make a whole lot of sense within the movie itself, but it does draw from fandoms or use nostalgia, it may work well. For example, in Avengers Endgame, Captain Marvel's sudden entrance may not work, but when the portals appear and every single hero we've ever met arrives to fight, this could be seen as working better because it's bringing so many beloved characters on screen and engaging in fan service.
Avengers!
Assemble.
In Jurassic Park, the writers know that the audience loves the T-Rex, so why not bring it back? 2. Genre and recurring themes. Viewers are more forgiving and accepting if a comedy compared to a drama bends the rules. In the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, David Hasselhoff randomly appearing to save the day doesn't feel cheap because the whole movie is full of wacky, funny moments.
Oh no. How will we ever get back to Bikini Bottom now?
I can take you there.
As for recurring themes, when Dorothy accidentally defeats the Wicked Witch of the West by splashing water on her, it aligns with the movie's theme that Dorothy is just a kind person completely out of her element.
She's dead. You killed her.
I didn't mean to kill her. Really, I didn't.
If she had purposefully killed the witch, the twist wouldn't have felt as effective or believable, which brings us to number 3. If the resolution feels believable, no matter how shocking the twist is. Otherwise, it can feel lazy or rushed, and no one likes a bad ending.
The endings are the best part.
From the unexpected savior to bending the unspoken rules, an effective Deus Ex Machina can provide a shocking twist to carry the narrative forward in a way no one could have predicted. An ineffective Deus Ex Machina can leave audiences feeling unsatisfied and annoyed, wishing for a different outcome.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
What do you think of the Deus Ex Machina? Are you a fan, or do you think it's the easy way out? Should writers avoid it at all costs, or use it more often? Did we forget any shocking Deus Ex Machina moments you loved or hated? Make sure to let us know and leave a comment below. That's The Take. Click here to watch a video we think you'll love, or here to check out a whole playlist of awesome content. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. And make sure to subscribe to our Patreon for exclusive new videos.